your guys' claim to fame is that the meme that you guys have is a meme that Brad Gardinghouse saw on Twitter, or someone sent it to him, and he loved it so
Correct.
much that he framed it, and it's hanging somewhere in his office.
Correct.
And essentially, because it encapsulates the spirit of the XRP community, that delusional spirit that, you know what, you guys are laughing at me now, but one day you'll see. You'll see. We're gonna power the entire world.
First light, you're shining bright. Web page open to the light. Trade meme coins day and night. XRPL takes flight.
What is going on, crypto degens? We got an awesome episode of the Trident podcast. Today we have Jalen. He is the head dev for the Laugh project. It's a meme project on the XRPL. What's going on, Jalen? How you doing?
Pretty good, man. How about yourself, Jamie?
I'm doing good. It's been a long week. A lot of fluctuation in prices, but the community is really loud right now. The community is bumping and rolling, and I've been having a lot of fun jumping on Twitter Spaces, and that's kind of where I saw you. I saw your hustling in Twitter Spaces as well, and I was like, man, I got to talk to this guy. I love this meme. I love the community. So yeah, here we are. Now we're talking. Hopefully, I can learn a little bit more about your project.
Yeah, man, it's been crazy. So, it's crazy 3 months. I want to say it's been a dream come true, but the dream hasn't been achieved yet. So just hard work still going, man. But yeah, man, glad you reached out. Glad you were able to go ahead and ask for the interview. I know you have a lot on your schedule and things get busy in the crypto realm. So, pleasure to be here.
Really, the pleasure's all mine. I'm as long as I can find the crypto project that interests me, and I see that they're hustling, I want to have them on. I'll squeeze them in, no matter what the schedule is. But yeah, let's jump right into it. Tell me before we jump to your project. I like to know everybody's personal story of how they come to crypto, because it's very interesting. A lot of us, sometimes we've been years in crypto, just grinding, and then out of nowhere we pop out and become. Others literally just from one day to another, we find crypto and we just fall in love. So, what's kind of your story? How'd you get into crypto?
Yeah, so I've been in crypto for about 5 years. Everyone's probably heard this meme coin before, but what attracted me here was SafeMoon. So I saw them on LinkedIn and had no idea what they were, but they appealed to me. I work in the corporate world, and so they had this sort of corporate vibe to them. And I never really knew what crypto was, but the biggest thing about it was I had some friends that talked about it all the time. So I started looking into it a little bit more. Didn't know what I was looking into, if I'm being completely honest. At one point, I just thought, okay, I saw Dave Portnoy talk about it. I saw some other, influencers talk about it, and I thought this might be the thing that makes me rich. As we all do in the crypto realm, we all think, what can make us rich. So I I started understanding what Binance was, what Ethereum was, what even Bitcoin was, and then I invested into a little bit of SafeMoon, but I invested at the tail end, so way before, way at the end when everybody made their money, and I thought, cool, I'll hold it. Started telling my friends about it, and they started asking me, what's going on? I thought you said SafeMoon was the thing. Well, I was completely wrong because it was the thing, but it wasn't anymore, and so from that point on, I started to think to myself, how can I understand more about crypto, even though I don't know about crypto? So I started asking questions, doing research, and then I got into Cardano. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew that Cardano was some sort of altcoin. And I thought altcoins were the same as meme coins, just alternative to Bitcoin, which technically that's what it means. But jumped into our jumped into Cardano, didn't know it was a US crypto, just got lucky at that point. Probably what it was 2021. Wait, no, it was 2019, 2020, 2021 came around when, Doge made its popularity and then it died down. And after Doge died down, I looked at my portfolio on Coinbase and that thousand I invested had 30x. So I didn't know what was going on, but I saw five figures in my portfolio. And at that point, I had never seen that much ever. I didn't know that crypto could do that. But since it was linked to my bank account, I thought, well, what would happen if I withdraw 5K? Withdrew 5K, checked my bank account, pulled up my phone, and went, okay, wow, that's real money. Yeah, that's real money. And so, I told my family, I told my mom, I said, hey, this crypto thing I've been telling you guys about, I think it might be legit. And they said, "What do you mean?" And I just started, helping my mom pay off debt, helping my mom with some things around her home. And then that's when I started going ahead and spend more for her. And she started thinking, "Hey, what are you doing?" And that's when the question started coming out of, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I don't know. I think I got lucky." And so from then on, I reinvested some of that and just, didn't know what I was doing still. And so this was probably about 2023. I jumped into Tiger King coin. No idea what Tiger King coin was. I just remember the show. Funny enough, I live in Oklahoma, so that Joe Exotic Animal
He's right,
Zoo is
right around there, right?
exactly. He's an hour south of Oklahoma City. So I've never been to his farm. I never knew anything about it, just heard about the show. Well, I jumped into this Tiger King coin, and that was like the first legit meme coin community I had ever been in. Disappeared for 6 months, didn't really check it. Came back, and one day in my portfolio, I saw about 700 grand. It just spiked. And at
That's
that point, I
insane.
realized, and that's what I'm saying. I
Was
was
it
like, oh
liquid?
my gosh. It was, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I didn't, back in the day when you're on Uniswap, everything is, not financial advice. Everything's just a meme coin. Well, I never sent the contract address to my MetaMask to actually put the coins in my MetaMask. So as it pumped, it kept pumping and then it started dumping. And I never knew how to pull the money out. I was at work, I was sitting there, and I thought that when I bought it, I had it. And that was my experience of crypto is, from Coinbase, I bought all my Cardano on Coinbase. Obviously, it's an altcoin. It makes sense why it's on Coinbase. I didn't know anything about Uniswap. I just got lucky. One night I was just Googling top meme coins to look at. Took me to Dex Tools, thought I was on the dark web, and happened to see in my portfolio that I made money, but I never had the money because I could never pull it out. So that's when I really started to ask myself, how can I make money in this industry if I don't know how to make money? And that's when I started buckling down, learning more, getting in Telegram, asking questions, and I even told myself if I ask the wrong question, at least I know that's the wrong question, but I have to understand how to properly navigate the industry if I'm going to make this a full-time gig. Fast forward to now, it's been 2 years, it's 2024, well, about a year and a half, 2024, almost 2025, and all of a sudden, and I'll be honest, before anyone jumps down my throat, I'll be honest. I used to FUD the hell out of XRP. I had people
I
talk about it, and
used to. I used to.
yeah, I used to talk about it all the time, or I used to have friends talk about it, and I used to think, nah, that just sounds sketchy. It's in litigation battle with the SEC.
Says the
Why
guy
would I ever
who's
invest in that?
gambling with meme coins.
yeah, yeah, right. So I was very hypocritical in everything. But at the end of the day, I never was a fan of it. And then one day, somebody in one of the groups I was in, and he's still a part of the team, Lord Stark, he just hit me up and said, "Hey, Jalen, I know you want to talk for projects. There's this project on XRP." And I thought to myself, okay, well, I hate XRP. Why would I look at it? And he said, use my referral code. So I was like, I'll throw $50 in, see what happens. And I started looking at the narrative. I started understanding what it was. But, that's what really got me into crypto and got me to probably the last 3 months where out of the 4 years, I was just in the trenches. And now these past 3 months, I finally have a grasp of crypto. I finally have an understanding. And to say this is it may be a stretch, but I really do feel like I have a cornerstone in XRP when it comes to the meme space. But yeah, I'll even talk a little bit about how I got into Laugh. Is I was told that there's this project we want to CTO it, and if some people don't know what CTO is, it's community takeover. The dev launched it probably 30 days after First Ledger became a thing. And it was this whole meme of a chimp with the sign on that says laugh now, but one day XRP will power the world. And what a lot of people don't realize is that meme was given to Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO, by the XRP community itself, by a bunch of XRP maxis to just keep encouraging what he said on an interview one day. That meme derived from a Banksy meme. So Banksy's a huge civil street artist in the UK. He's all about people's rights. He's all about freedom of speech, everything. But the original meme was the same chimp, but it said "Laugh now, but one day we'll all be in charge." So the XRP
I
community.
didn't.
Okay, yeah. So that's what a lot of people don't realize is it was in an art gallery. It was an art show. He had a huge, big exhibit about freedom of speech, and it was the chimp with the sign that said, "Laugh now, but one day we'll all be in charge." The XRP community took that and said, "Laugh now, but one day XRP will power the world," because that's what Brad said on an interview. So that's what the original dev derived the narrative of Laugh from. And then when he pumped and dumped it, it went down to maybe 9K, 10K. And I jumped in and I didn't know what I was doing, still flooded XRP. And then someone started talking more about what they were building on the blockchain. And I thought, I really want to be a part of that. I think being a part of this is something that I've been looking for. And I'll be honest, when I first was told about this, I was looking for every excuse in the book to say no. I was like, I don't have time. My corporate job is too busy. I don't know if I can do this. But the more people started talking about the narrative and the more they said, hey, Jalen, I know you are decently well at speaking. You're pretty articulate. Can you talk about this project? I said, I mean, maybe I'll jump on 1-2 times a week and see what happens. And then I said, once I do it more, and now it's a full-time gig, I'm probably banging out 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. every single night on top of spaces while I'm at work if I can. But I truly believe in the narrative of where it started and where it's going and where it's at now. And I do really think that what we're building on this blockchain for every project is pivotal, but with what Laugh stands for, with the community, with Laugh now, but one day, I think that stands for the whole blockchain itself, man, and even the project.
Wow. So I want to go back to one thing that you mentioned. I think this is really important. So your coming to crypto stories is very different from mine. It's actually quite opposite from mine, but more people will resonate with yours and with me. In my case, at the time I was in real estate. I really got obsessed with how economics work. I would listen to 4 hours of boring economic podcasts, and I enjoyed it. I just like to see how money moves and how money, And then an assistant of mine told me about crypto. He mentioned XRP at the time. I think it was maybe like 40 cents. And I threw some money at it, and then
that's lucky.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'll be honest. The cheapest buy I got was 16 cents. Yeah. When we had the C19 crash, I looked at my wallet and I was like, you know what? It's do or die. It's do or die, and I threw like 10 G's at it, down at like 16, 20 cents, and I got really lucky at that time. Yeah. But yeah, so I had this assistant. He told me about XRP, and he was also doing Forex. And like many of my investments, I like to obsessively understand what's going on. And everything that Ripple was doing in XRP just made sense. And I was like, wow, nobody's talking about this. I think I might be holding on to a gem. And I held on to XRP. And for many years, I was just, I was an XRP maxi for, I was a little bit extreme for a bit. Right. I did hold Bitcoin and ETH and the major 10, but mostly XRP. But I was a hardcore against memes. I thought, like as a fundamental economist mindset, I was like, this is just a Ponzi scheme. I'm not touching with 10-foot pole. I do not touch memes. Okay? I hated memes. Up until First Ledger launched. When First Ledger launched, Alex Cobb, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Alex Cobb. He's a pretty big XRP YouTuber. He's like, oh, First Ledger launched. I'm launching a meme coin, which was Drop. And I was like, you know what? I'll dump some money at it. Why not? I've seen memes popping off. I had some extra XRP, and I dumped it. And then I saw not just the price go up, but I saw community coming together, which I really loved. And then after like the first month or two of me being involved in Drop, and I put a lot of energy, and I'm still putting energy into it. I wanted to understand, why is it that memes are so popular? Now my brain was turning. It's like, why is this even important? Why are memes even important? And I found out that more often than not, memes are a on-ramp vehicle. So the average investor, the average guy is not going to look into economics of why this is a Bitcoin is a good coin or why XRP. They just want to FOMO it, right? And time again, I talk to the average person and I ask them, hey, what crypto do you hold? And 80% of their portfolio is either Bitcoin or meme coins. And meme coin tends to be their first coin. And it's just an amazing on-ramp vehicle because they get FOMO, they get hype. A couple of them, well, actually more than a couple, are going to get wrecked. But that whole experience is them now understanding what a wallet is, how crypto works. And many of them will integrate into the more legitimate tokens, which are XRP or Ethereum or whatever. But that's what I understood. I was okay. These meme coins aren't anything, or are nothing. They are actually a really good onboarding tool to bring in a bunch of novice people who have no experience because they're coming in from FOMO. They're coming in because their friends are doing it. They're coming in to chase 1,000x gains that they're seeing on YouTube. And a lot of them will stay, and that's what I've seen. So that's when I made the flip, and I was like, okay, meme coins are actually essential because they bring in so much extra volume.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. And the funny thing about it is, and we talk about this on all of our live spaces, we say meme coins build a blockchain. You know, we have institutional investors, we have more educated investors, and nothing against people that invest in meme coins, but we have educational investors that go more for the altcoin. And then you have layers deep, you have the meme coins, and those build the blockchain because a lot of that is the degen volume. Like you said at the beginning, welcome degens. You know, we're all degenerates at heart. We've all gone to the casino. We've all done those types of gambling scenarios. We've all seen a pyramid scheme and understand what it is. But truly, when it comes to building a blockchain, when it comes to building that foundation at the bottom, I've used this example before. It's almost like when you look at a house, when you look at a construction site, what's first? It's obviously the land development, and that's what First Ledger is doing. They're building that land development to understand how they can help build that foundation or be essential to that foundation. And then the meme coins build that concrete, that solidified ground where XRP can start building more of that progressive technology. So, you know, I didn't think meme coins were as pivotal as they were for the longest time. You know, I looked at SafeMoon and I thought, damn, what if I got in? I look at, Tiger King coin, damn, what if I were to pull that out? And then now I have this third chance, and sometimes I do feel like the alien. I saw the alien in the field, or driving and saw the UFO over my head, where I'm like, guys, trust me, this is real. But a lot of people don't understand the economic side. Like you said, there's a whole economic side to it with the world liquidity and how much is injected and how much is pooled, and sometimes there's market manipulation, and people don't understand that that is another aspect to the crypto industry, and it's completely separate from the meme coin industry. The meme coin industry has its own ecosystem. Then you have the altcoin that has its own ecosystem, and Bitcoin as a whole is at the top. And so, I hear what you're saying because I used to think the same thing. I used to think the exact same thing. And then when I started getting to the nitty gritty, as you yourself do now, you start understanding, oh my gosh, there's more to this. It's just we're not calling it Apple or Samsung
Right.
or Sony. We're calling it Laugh. We're calling it Drop. We're calling it Bear. We're calling it Army. We're calling it 589. They're different digital names, and that's what we have DAOs now. So,
Yeah.
so no, I completely understand, man.
I'll tell you one other aspect that has changed my view on meme coins as well is community, right? Like a lot of people will
hmm
preach community, but they don't really explain what it really means. And I'll tell you, I have had since 2018, since 2019, since I've been hardcore into XRP. And back then, I would just use Twitter as a news feed and I'd repost stuff.
hmm
I wasn't engaging with anybody else. I was just using it as my personal news. And I was hardcore into XRP and I just listened to XRP influencers, but I never connected with anyone. Since I got involved with First Ledger and the XRP meme coin space, I have made so many connections, so many relationships with people that it seems like we've been living our lives side by side for the last 5 years because we've gone through the ups and downs of the price. We've gone through the whole lawsuit together, and I was like, well,
hmm
we're like best friends and we've never met. How come we're just talking now? And that's one
Exactly.
thing that meme coins have done. It's connected a lot of us, and I'm very happy that that has happened because it's made our community a lot stronger for that.
Agreed. And here's the part that a lot of people don't understand. Like you said, community. I think community is the biggest aspect to crypto, whether you're an XRP maxi and it's an altcoin, you're an Avalanche maxi and it's an altcoin, it's a meme coin itself. Community is one of the biggest things that keep a project going. I know some people say don't believe in a community. I know some people say don't focus on a community aspect when it comes to projects. Focus on what they're doing in the industry and the technology that follows along. But regardless of anything, you look at Apple, you look at Samsung and Sony, some of the examples that I have, you have die hard consumers that only believe in Samsung, that only believe in Apple and only believe in Sony. And that's just translated to more of a digital age. We're at a digital renaissance where almost everybody has a community that they belong to, and that community gives them hope. And I know sometimes we hate hope because it's like, what comes next? But hope also goes a long way, because if you have a community that's convicted, you have a community that maybe comes from different backgrounds but understands that this could be a vehicle to financial freedom, that's what really drives a community forward, because that's what sticks together when it comes to community involvement.
Yeah. 100%. I want to touch on something you had brought it up a little bit in the beginning already,
Hmm.
but your guys' claim to fame is that the meme that you guys have is a meme that Brad Gardinghouse saw on Twitter, or someone sent it to him, and he loved it
Correct.
so much that he framed it, and it's hanging somewhere in his office.
Correct.
And essentially, because it encapsulates the spirit of the XRP community, that delusional spirit that, you know what, you guys are laughing at me now, but one day you'll see. You'll see. We're gonna power the entire world.
Yeah. Yeah, so our narrative for this or well, really the biggest thing is like our narrative that comes from this is really like you said. Uh it's the XRP community taking that Banksy meme, changing it to the words of Brad Garlinghouse himself, sending it to him, and let me see. I do have a picture on my phone of it because he tweeted it, and if you even go to our X, it's on our X, it's on our main page
Yeah,
of Brad himself. Yeah,
he
he
tweeted it.
you can you can see him in the mirror, and just for everybody at home when they look at it, you can see him almost in the mirror himself,
Yep.
taking a picture in his house of laugh now, but one day XRP will power the world.
So
And
that
so
meme is hanging in his office
in
today.
his physical office today, right now. So that's where our narrative comes from. That's where our chimp comes from. That's why a lot of what our utility is, and especially as a CTO, our utility has to be collaboration. It has to be togetherness. It has to be being able to involve not just Lab itself, but the whole community on First Ledger as a whole, because that's what Banksy stands for, who created the monkey himself, and then what XRP stands for because of what they've gone through with the litigation and the lawsuits and everything with the SEC. And so now it's coming full circle to the very end, where now we're about to laugh now because one day XRP will power the world. So that's obviously the tinfoil hat that we always say. There's so much conspiracy with XRP. I myself call it the most mimetic altcoin on the blockchain itself. You look at what Bitcoin does, great. It's such a mimetic version of Bitcoin, but you have it XRP and it's US based, and it goes deep. You look at some of the conspiracy theories of 589 and Bear and
It's
everything.
it's momentum
It's
times
absurd.
10. Like it's
Yes,
crazy.
exactly.
Like and
Yes.
Solana guys, I've had a lot of experience, especially with the meme coins. I'm always in spaces. I know you are too. We'll get a Solana
Mm-hmm.
person come in. He's brand new to the space, and he's like, "All right, tell me about XRP." And then we'll go into it, and then we'll go deeper, and then we'll go deeper, and then he's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 okay, you guys are a little crazy." And then they'll realize, wow, you guys really are cultists. Like this is cult. Like they thought in Solana they had cult behavior. Then they meet us like, no, we are real tinfoil hat guys. Like we will
Yes.
really die for our coins.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean that's the part of community that I think some people don't think about. When you think about Laugh is in every single community on XRP. You go to XRpedia, you go to Drop, even Austin and I, we've spoken multiple times. You go to Sigma, me and the guys from Sigma have spoken multiple times. Even my co-host Mike, who you've spoken with before, we're gonna be at XRP Vegas hanging out with Sigma, Drop, XGC, and everybody. We're getting shirts printed off for all the memes. It's because Laugh embodies every bit of that when it comes to mimetic blockchain foundational building. And I think that's the biggest thing about it. It is a cult. It's a cult, but when you think about it, it's a different cult. It's not that live, breathe, die by the sword cult. It's more of a, we know what's going to happen. We're waiting for it.
Yeah, awesome, man. So let's dive a little bit more into your project. Tell me about what's been going on. I believe right now you're sitting just under 2 million market cap, about 1.7, 1.8. But yeah, tell me kind of the journey Laugh has gone through since launch and where you're at right now.
Oh man, the journey's been crazy. You know, I can sit here and say this 100 times until I'm blue in the face, but I'm truly blessed to have such a good community, such a good team, such a good narrative, because I think that with everything that Laugh embodies, I mean, the journey started from being at 19K and me not truly believing, and I'll even be the first to admit, and I've said it multiple times, I never truly believed in Laugh. I didn't know what I was looking at, I didn't know what it was, but I truly thought, okay, well, if I want to do this, and this is the selfish part about me, I was thinking if I want to make crypto a full-time job, I cannot turn down an opportunity to talk for a project when that's what I want to do. And so I started understanding more about Laugh, more about Banksy, more about, what that stood for. Even though I fudded it for the past 4 years, but after after I understood it, I started to truly believe more in Laugh as itself. So we started out, maybe 20 to 50 people in the community. By the time we hit about 100K, we probably had about 100, 200 community members, and we just kept going from there. We had a probably core team about 16 people, and then that dwindled down to 10 as we hit 4 or 5 mil. Then when we hit 8, our all-time high, we dwindled because we had some bad actors. As every space does, we will always have bad actors, whether that's Hollywood, whether that's sports, crypto will always have bad actors. We had some bad actors on our team that made us reanalyze and almost reconfigure our thoughts of who wants to be a part of the core team. And so now we have a strong core team of 5 people. We about 5, 6 people. We have an internal team of about 15, 16 people from an admin perspective, from a community management perspective, that have all been within the crypto space for, I want to say, from all 16 of us combined, close to about 100 years. So you think about 16 people being in the crypto space for about 100 years, that's a lot of experience, and that's experience that I myself value as a whole. I talk all day long. I can talk your ear off if you want me to. We could be on here for 3 hours, but they may have been in the trenches longer than I have, and so I
Yeah.
respect everyone's point of view and perception because I've never gone to this level of it. So there's times where, of course, there's a business aspect to it, but at the same time, the team has adapted to be more fundamentally sound in terms of what we can expect from what they've seen from Ethereum, what they've seen from Solana, what they've seen from Base, what they've seen from Sui, and how we can go ahead and adapt and collaborate to make sure that those negatives don't come into Laugh. So now we have about a strong suit, about 6 internal core team members, and then we have like the Laugh community team that's about 15, 16 individuals.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's very similar to what happened with Drop. Initially, we had probably about 10 core people. There was again bad actors, big whales that decided, hey, I don't want to really stick around, and they sold. And then we had to like
Mm-hmm.
reorganize. It's happened like twice since the launch of the project, where we kind of reorganized and condensed it to the real core. Right now, 5 or 7 that are like ride or die. We're gonna make sure this project succeeds, and then we have our extended group, which is like 16 to maybe 20, with including animators and admins. But yeah, we've had a very similar journey as well. And sometimes you kind of need that, right? You need that culling of people who are not really invested into the project long term. Hey, you want to take your profits and go. I prefer you do it down here than when we're at 50 million, right? Yeah, because if you do that up there, it's gonna ruin the project. And early on, when you're doing all the building, it's understandable that you're going to have some rocky and shaky grounds. I prefer to get that over with early on. So once we're up there, once the liquidity really floods in, we have a strong foundation. That's something that at least us and Drop we've really prioritized, and I see a lot of projects are doing the same. We're prioritizing foundation building so that liquidity comes in, and we have a really good foundation to kind of kick off and hit 50, 100. Hopefully somebody hits that 100 million. Well, actually, I think Army hit 100 million, didn't it?
Army hit 100 million. I know Phoenix was pretty close to hitting 100 million. I honestly think, and this is my own opinion and my own perception of XRP, and the meme coins itself, is that I think that when one of the memes, the top memes like Drop, Lav, Army, Phoenix hit that 1 billion, maybe even 500 million, the whole market will flood and the whole market will bring volume. And I think that's the most important thing. We're so PvE that a lot of people don't understand what's happening on XRPL. And so I think that's a positive thing that we have the armies, we have the drops, we have the phoenixes, because from my understanding, those projects have a lot of foresight whenever they were created. They still have their dev there. They still have a lot of the individuals that originally created the project. They're not a CTO. I mean, CTO to an extent, right? CTO to an extent, but I think that they're trailblazing the way and creating a legacy for us to follow suit on that. And so, and even Bear, I'm forgetting about Bear, but even Bear is still doing what they need to do. So I think it's very positive that we have those individuals and that no one's been more cutthroat, but it's been competitive competition, or it's been healthy competitiveness.
I'll tell you this. I mean, many people have made this connection before. And, a lot of people who are outside and they come in and they see XRP, they say, "Hey, I'm not gonna lie, XRPL investors and holders are one of the most knowledgeable investors we've worked with, right? Because a lot of Solana maxis are, unfortunately, they're not as educated or knowledgeable as a lot of XRP, active individuals. And I've noticed in the early days of just the meme coin space for XRPL, it was a little PvP.
Mm-hmm.
But we quickly realized, and I remember when we had a meeting of the minds with a lot of the big projects, we realized, hey, we don't even have enough liquidity for us to PvP. We're just going to be cannibalizing each other. Let's work on foundation building and building out the XRPL space in general, because we need liquidity to come out from other spaces. Right. And I feel like right now we're in a really good space. PvP is honestly, it's almost non-existent anymore. In the XRPL, it's really more pushing as a whole, as a group, say, hey, come to the XRPL. We got tons of culture. We have tons of really cool projects. Come see what we have so we can bring in the liquidity.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And I think that, once the volume comes, all boats will rise. And I think that's the biggest thing about it. I do agree with you. I think that, once the volume comes in and once we get to a point where, there are going to be more established projects, there will always be bad actors. There will always be those pump and dumps, and everybody, they may not experience it now, but when we're chasing green candles, you'll come across those devs, or you'll come across those people that will utilize the progressiveness and technology of XRP or First Ledger itself and what they're building to go ahead and make their own money, because they know what XRP can do. They know XRP is going to get to these certain thresholds. They know that 589 is coded. They know that whether that's $5.89, $58.90, $589, they know that it's coded somewhere there where they will try to gain as much XRP as they can, and that may result in other people becoming victims of that, those pump and dumps. So, right now we see it maybe happy-go-lucky. It's a little bit safer, and I use safer in quotes because I think safer is never really safe in crypto. You have to obviously do what's best for you, but I do think that the more volume that comes over, the more we'll see pump fund individuals think, hey, XRP is the place that I might be able to launch something and maybe it go to a certain market cap. Or people think, I'm tired of being scammed from pump fund, let me go to XRP and we'll get more of those long-term holders. And so I think there's obviously two sides of the coin here that we have to understand, but I think that regardless of what those two sides are, it brings volume, and volume right now will help build that foundation for First Ledger and XRP.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of that with volume, I'll tell anybody who's watching this right now, if you guys have not gone to go vote for the Phantom integration, this is so important, guys. So right now, Phantom is doing kind of a vote system to see what's the next chain to get incorporated into the Phantom wallet. It is so monumental for XRP to be integrated into Phantom. There are so many Solana and ETH wallets with millions of dollars of liquidity just sitting in their wallet, waiting for something to happen, because those chains are, obviously they're not dead, but they're slow right now, and they would love to sink their teeth into something new, something full of culture, something where they can just dump a couple 100,000 at the first 20, 30 projects and just let it all rise. If we're able to get XRP integrated, it will literally rise all of the projects. All the boats will rise. So if you have a chance, please go vote and leave a comment. I'll see if I can drop the link below this video. But it's really important that we do. That's the number one thing we can do is bring in more integrations into XRP. Get more people, more volume in here.
I even did something a little bit better, as you see me looking off to the side of the screen. I'm an idiot because I'm using my work laptop, and I hit Control C on that and tried to Control V on my PC. But I just DM'd you the Army and Laugh have been working together about getting people over to the XRP integration and XRP meme coin trading on Phantom. Yep. So I just DM'd you that. When we had our space on Thursday, crazy thing is when we had our space on Thursday, we were at 310. By the end of that space, we're at 330. Now we are at 864 people that have voted and replied and responded. And I think that's very important when it comes to communities like Laugh, Army, Phoenix, Drop, Bear, Uga, all these bigger communities, 589, because I think that if we stand together for this type of situation and scenario, this is how we get on those platforms for mass adoption to happen. And when I say mass adoption in terms of people already in crypto. We are not even 1% of the volume on Base or even Ethereum and Solana. Imagine when we get to 1%, 5%, 10%. The Labs, the Ugas, the Drops, the Bears, the 589s, the XGCs, everything, the Louis Lambos become a 10x, a 20x. Laugh will be sitting at 40 mil. Uga will be sitting at 20 mil. Drop will be sitting at 50 mil. Army will be sitting at 110 mil. And that's what we need to be focused on bringing volume here. So, like you said, Jamie, for anyone who's listening, for anyone who tunes in, for anyone who's paying attention to this, make sure you look at that link because that link is more important than you think. It takes no time. If you're smashing raids for your community, if you're smashing, just retweets just because you like what you see, go take some time. It links to your Gmail to go ahead and just upvote. It's an upvote. You're smashing a raid to bring more volume over to XRPL. So I'm glad you brought that up because right when you said that, I was like, cool, let me get you this link ASAP.
Yeah. I've actually been preaching this for the last week. Every space I jump on, I say, hey, real quick, I'm going to interrupt the space. And then I post it on the mega board. I'm like, everybody go vote, please, right now. You can ask OV. I've been in OV spaces every day, and I keep preaching it. It's so important. If there's anything you can do for your bags, this is it.
100%. 100%, man. I agree with you, and I think that's something that people have to understand. We all have to work for our bags because there's not enough volume here right now to not work for our bags. The conviction is what will take this blockchain to the next level. But yeah, love it, man. I'm glad you're preaching it.
Yeah, no, it's important. So I've been on it. Awesome, man. So I do want to bring up something else, and as someone who's running a project, I can understand this, and I've felt this sentiment from other developers as well, and it's when you're running a project, you have many people that have many different opinions, and everything you do has negative and positive opinions. So you're never going to make people happy. So it's, the stress of dealing with that and the negativity of some people, and sometimes they say, oh, you made the wrong decision, or we should do this, we should do that. And sometimes you have a long laundry list of things that you want to do for the project that the community is asking for. But you as a founder, sometimes you might know, hey, this is not feasible right now, or this is not a priority right now. So, how has that been your experience with Laugh?
That's a good question. When I think about it, I mean, XRP has such a new but long-term community where we have to make the best move on the chessboard. And so the best move on the chessboard sometimes isn't the flashiest move. It isn't, working with the KOLs. It's not working with the callers. It's not working with the influencers. It's not working with the people that have more of a stake in Solana, Ethereum, and Base. So a lot of our conversations and a lot of what I like to do, and I'll speak personally for myself, when it comes to a lot of what I want to do or what I like to do when it comes to suggestions, is I like to play devil's advocate. You know, when people bring suggestions to me, I always ask the questions of, hey, if I were to be someone on the other end, how would you respond to this question? Because if we're going to be on spaces and we're going to be talking about what's next, I want them to ask me the same. And you know, I'm lucky that I have a community that is very outspoken and that's very experienced. And you know, sometimes that's not always the case. You don't have a community that's very experienced, but I'll bring it up to the community and say, "Hey, here's what we're doing." And we have people like Diego, B-Walk. We have so many individuals in our community that have been around the space in a long time where they will give feedback in the moment. And I think that's the biggest thing because our intent, and you know, there's a thing of intent versus impact. And our intent is to always do what's best for the community, but it may impact us negatively. And so we're trying to move 2 steps forward, but we may move 2 steps back just because that's the nature of the business. But you know, when it comes to me, myself, I have to figure out, hey, how can I portray this information? How can I articulate this information in a way where it may be controversial, but it is progressive in the sense of what we are looking to do with the project. So by that, I'll even give you a specific example of that. You know, there was a time, and a lot of people may not know this because we did have a huge space. We had all the meme coins on it, from Army, Uga, Bear. We had all the meme coins on it, but we opened up a public doxed wallet. And a lot of people would think, okay, well, if you're a CTO, for one, we're a CTO, and you're opening up a doxed wallet, what's stopping you from selling? Because why would we go ahead and send you funds if we collaborate or an NFT if you're going to sell? Well, the thing was not that we're going to sell. The thing is that, you know, what we're doing is we're allowing everybody to take a look into who we've worked with and who we collaborate with and why we collaborated with them. We're not like a Donald Trump wallet or a Vitalik wallet where it's public and you can send us 10% supply and it's burnt and we're never touching it, or an Ansem or whomever. We're doing it because with XRPL, you have to open a trust line. And that's the key. You have to open a trust line. If we don't open a trust line with you, you can't send it. So there was a lot of criticism and there was a lot of feedback. It wasn't even criticism, it was more feedback about, well, I think we should be careful about doing that because what if someone decides to sell? Well, it is a multi-signature wallet for one. So even if there are bad actors, there needs to be 4 of us that sign off to make sure that that goes through. And if there's not 4 of us, if there's 3 of us, it's still not going to go through, but there has to be 4 of us. So it prevents any bad actors in the space. Second example is, I don't know if you've heard of it, but we started a late, and I say late because I've even fallen asleep on a few of them, but a late night space at midnight Eastern Standard Time to about 2 a.m. called XRPL Radio. And there's a lot of radio shows nowadays on XRPL, regardless of where it's at. You know, I know Bear has that Bear and Smoke and Weed, and Uga has the Uga Jungle Radio. Well, we're just specific. Mike and I started this whole XRPL Radio to just be a space where people want to chill, where people want to talk about their frustrations of the meme coin industry, and it's specific to meme coins. And it's nothing else besides meme coin frustrations, meme coin insight, XRP. If you want to brag about your bag, come in and brag. But it's not even done by Laugh. It's Mike and I from Laugh, but Laugh is never on there. So we got a lot of criticism about, well, what's going to happen if people want to donate to XRPL Radio? Will Jalen and Mike run off with that? And that's obviously a criticism. It's crypto. What if we did? No one would complain, or no one would know the difference. But that's not our point. Our point is to help build this blockchain. And like I said earlier in the interview, I felt like at the beginning of all of this when Lab started, and I felt like we could coin a specific market within the XRPL meme coin industry. And if that is specific towards letting people come and chill their project late at night, where it hits the US, whether it's, the West Coast at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time at 11, midnight on the East Coast, even over in Europe, we've had people like Immortals and what is it, Crypto Sean, and a lot of other people that may not get to be on the spaces during the daytime can come in and talk about what they're doing. That is why we built it. Yes, it's frustrating that it's late at night and we're tired, but it brings the community together. And so what turned out to be an idea has blossomed into be more of a flower. And so, when it comes to getting the feedback from different parts of the community and having to be a CTO and having to make sure everyone's on board, our core ideas are tied to what's best for the community and the blockchain. And sometimes people don't have to tune into XRPL radio. That's fine. But they tune in to laugh because they know they coincide to one another. And they coincide with XRPL radio is for all XRPL memes. Well, what is laugh? An XRPL meme. So they coincide with one another.
Yeah. I know it's always difficult, especially for CTO. I mean, Drop is also a CTO. It's difficult when it comes to like allocation of funds. People always get weird around that conversation, and as the founders or the lead team, right? We're always trying to maximize that capital to to the best possible place, and that's in the early days of Drop, that's where we kind of ran into trouble where a lot of opinions were being thrown at us of where we should throw the money, whether it's another exchange or a KOL or this or that. And real quick, we found out, hey, we're gonna run out of money real quick if we just go after every shiny, flashy thing. I'll give you an example of something when Deck Screener came out, right? Big craze, everybody was crazy about Deck Screener. We finally got on there. Everybody was spending money on upvotes. I forgot what it's called, but you can kind of pump your token to the top so it can be seen. And we had put a little bit of money in, but it wasn't our priority because we saw, okay, every project is doing it. This is gonna die down eventually, and we just don't think that's the best use of our capital for the time. Like we had, projects we were developing and building. But our community was just like they wanted to be the number one. They wanted to be the flashy one. They were even throwing some of their own money, but a lot of them had expressed they wanted to use community funds for that. So we kind of found a way around it where the core team, and these are guys who run businesses, they've been in the crypto space for a long time. Andy himself runs a marketing team. He's really knowledgeable when it comes to this stuff. We meet together, and some of the community members as well, and kind of decide, top 3 or 4 things that we should do with our funds, our next project, and then we'll present that to the team, or to the community, and then we'll let them vote on it. So that's kind of the workaround that we found. But in the beginning, you just can't jump on the first thing because people are scatterbrained, and people will just chase the most flashy thing. And as a CTO, if you don't have a lot of funds, you're gonna waste your firepower real fast.
Right. I agree with you. Yeah, and that was one thing that honestly, you asked the question earlier, and I can't remember the specific question that we were gonna go over, but one of the bullet points I had was when it's a CTO, it is your personal funds, and I think some people sometimes forget that not everybody is a maxi in the crypto industry, and so we've had to combat that. And people have been very receptive. We've explained and articulated it the right way of, hey, here is what we are raising funds for. Here is why we have a marketing wallet. Here is what we're going to use it for. And everybody that is a part of not the internal team, but more of the core team itself, or I guess not the core team, but the internal Lav community team, we get to vote on what those funds are used for. And so, of course, at first it's always hard to understand, or it's always hard to articulate, hey, I know it's XRP, the meme coins are here, let's go ahead and send some money, send some XRP, unless you truly know and trust the actors in the space. But there was a lot of trust we had to build from being on spaces consistently, and I'll be honest, Mike and I, or Mike joined middle of December towards the end of December, but it would be hard to donate to somebody that you're unsure of But I think from the very beginning, we had spaces Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, and now we do them Tuesday, Thursdays, Sundays consistently. And any spaces from, some of the bigger names like the, Coin Merge or, King, First Ledger was even on our spaces the past week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. They've seen the work that we put in, and it's easier to say, hey, here's what we're looking to do. We want to raise funds for this, and a lot of the community members will jump in and immediately give it. Now, was that the same a month ago? No, it wasn't. But
Oh,
but
I'll tell you, a month in memes is like a year, so it goes by
I'm telling you,
so
oh
slow.
my gosh,
Like
oh my
I
gosh.
talk about like 2 months ago, and it feels like years. I was like, wow, I can't believe. Yeah, that's right. That did happen two
It's
months
like
ago.
I'm aging so fast in this industry. It's
Things move so
absurd.
quickly.
It's feast and famine, man. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
it's feast
yeah,
and famine.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. Uh, in terms of Laugh, right? So we've talked about
Hmm.
kind of your the beginnings of Laugh, the community, what you guys
Right.
are doing. What are any future developments you guys plan on doing? First off, are you guys doing any burns or no? Or
We
maybe
do.
that's
We do.
okay.
We do some burns, and those burns are all personal. We don't advertise the burns.
Oh
We
wow.
don't pressure anyone into do the burns. Those burns that we do are all personal. We have partnered with XOX, so XRP on XRP is one of the projects that we partner with, and they've been very progressive with the swap and a bot that we use on their channel. Very similar to Coin Merge, where you can do ads and everything. Well, they have a burn feature where you can burn XRP, or sorry, burn Laugh or burn whatever token that you're in the community for. And we've had a bunch of community members burn small percentages, maybe $50 or below worth of Laugh, but every burn counts. Yeah.
And what are any future developments you guys have for Burn? I mean, for Burn, for Laugh. Like anything specific that you guys can talk about that are it's in the pipeline?
Yeah, so not much that we can give too much detail on, but I know we're working with money-minded apes on
Okay,
a
okay.
potential collection of some sort. I know we've talked about a lot, and I would love to show you some of the NFTs that they've sent us about Laugh, but we gotta hold that
Yeah.
tight. Um, we've been talking with other blockchains, specifically Solana, about a partnership on some of those conversations, and those conversations are led towards us being on their spaces on Saturday, or they promote us every Saturday. They have spaces on getting people over to XRPL because of what we do and what they believe in with our project. There's a lot of progressive conversations that are happening. Now, I can't go too much into detail because I know sometimes you go into too far into detail and people buy the news, and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
buy the rumors, sell the news, everything along those lines. But I will say that there is a lot of progressive work that's going towards XRP. I know we're with all the memes, and excuse me, with all the memes, we're doing something where we have, the Expectorverse, and the Expectorverse is going to have the specifics in terms of getting everybody in and buying property, buying land, and there's going to be a hub where all the memes sit to have conversations and have meetings, and that's where Laugh will be. But also, XRPL Radio can go ahead and hold a portion of that and launch their radio station every single night if we choose to. So there's a lot of progressiveness when it comes to what all the memes are doing, and it's a group of 51 memes, as you probably already know. Speaking with XGC, it's a group of 51 memes that truly are trying to build the foundation on this blockchain. But the biggest part about it is there's so much progressiveness that's happening. It's almost like I could say, hey, we're looking at doing this, and then next week it changes. But Laugh is very pivotal to all of that. Laugh is very, very instrumental, and like I said from the beginning, our utility is our fact that we collaborate and started collaborating from day one because we understand what the meme means to Brad and himself. But, besides us bridging with other blockchains, and besides us looking at capitalizing a specific space on Expectorverse, I mean, we have some conversations in the works with with money minded apes and stuff like that, but nothing too concrete besides the XOX relationship.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. I mean, I'll be honest. The second I saw your meme pop up, I got angry because I was like, man, why didn't I think of that? I love the meme so much because it really does. It captures the delusional aspect of the XRP community even throughout all these years. So I really love the meme. And I gotta say, I love the animations you guys have been coming out with. I mean, do you guys have an
Appreciate it.
animator? Like, is it someone that you're outsourcing, or is it like somebody in the team?
A little bit of both. A little
Okay.
bit of both, honestly. So we do have an animator that has done a lot on Ethereum type projects, a lot of big Ethereum projects, and I won't go into too much detail in there. But we also have a day-to-day animator that does sort of smaller, non-animated GIFs. But we do have two animators on our team. I will say one, Woody. Woody, he is a part of the main team, like just as much as myself and Mike. But Woody does a lot of the day-to-day animations where he works with AI. He does it by hand. But then the bigger animations that we do have another artist, and I'll even say his name. His name is Jay. We've been working with him probably mid-December, and then we've just kept him around, and he's truly believed in the project as well.
Honestly, you could make even like a small show, like small episodes. That the animation sometimes I've honestly I've saved them and sent them to friends that don't even invest in memes just because I loved it so much.
Mm.
At Drop, we did something early on where we're like I think it was it Phoenix? I think we saw some of Phoenix's animations and we're like, wow, we need something like this for Drop because at the time we were just using AI to make animations real quick. It wasn't like not a lot of work was put into it. And they were like, we need to find some like killer animation. So we went out, we got a couple of animators that are on the team right now, and they're just pumping it out daily. But yeah,
Right.
animations are huge, and they really bring the meme to life, especially for Twitter. If you can have something constantly posting on Twitter that people can look at, it gives it more personality and more of a sense of, hey, I'm connected to this meme.
For sure, for sure. What's crazy is we have some animation of you guys over at Drop and us over at Laugh that
Oh yeah,
we've done before. We have some animation, we have some just typical pictures. But I remember, when I was talking with Austin, we did a nice collaborative space, and it was Drop, Uga, and Laugh all in one space. And I remember I couldn't be on it because I had some personal issues outside of crypto. But I mean, we had a good number of people, and so a lot of what you guys are doing ties in very, very closely to Laugh. But I mean, what you guys do and what we're doing, I mean, that's the greatest part about all this. It's like you look at any project, right? You look at any project like Army, Phoenix. There's always somebody else in there. You look at 589, Terry Toto, you look at Sigma, there's always another project in their pictures. There's always somebody else, and that's the best part about this blockchain. You collaborate with someone, boom, there's a animation. Boom, there's something else. You can go to our profile right now and go to media, on X and see Drop, Uga, Bear, Army, Phoenix, everybody, Pongo, whatever project, Liua, everybody. So, I love it. I love it.
and then I'm not sure if you've seen some before, but I always like to do the word association game at the end. So I'm gonna give you a word, and you just give me the first word that comes to mind.
Oh,
All right,
man,
then.
are you my therapist now?
Well, maybe we'll find some Freudian slips there.
Oh no, I'm so bad at this. I feel like I'm so bad at this. Okay,
Let me know when you're ready. All right, here we go. Ape,
chimp,
persistence,
me,
community. Gary Gensler,
SEC,
Solana,
rug pulls,
blue cheese or ranch.
ranch, of course. I'm not.
Oh
I'm not a
no, you're a
I'm not
ranch
a
guy.
murderer. I'm not a
Oh
murderer.
my goodness.
Come on.
Terrible. All right. Liquidity.
Fool.
All right. First ledger,
Collaboration.
and then last one, whale.
Not me.
You will be. You will
I
be.
will be. I will be. I will be.
Awesome,
I will
man.
be.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure. I hope to have you back on. We can talk more about Laugh and future developments. Before we get out of here, is there anything else you really want to talk about or cover?
No, I just want to say thank you so much. I mean, this is obviously the first interview with crypto, and I truly believe that whenever things are going well and things are progressing, you start to expose yourself more to the industry. So the fact that we were able to jump on here means that Laugh is doing well. That means that the community is showing up well. That means that eyes are on us. So I just want to say thank you, Jamie, for all you do for the industry and all you do for your podcast, man. So I appreciate you.
I'll tell you, early on, um, when I got involved with prep, I said, you know what? If I'm going to do something, I want to do it the right way. So I'm like, I'm just going to dox myself. I'm going to dox
Yeah.
myself so everybody knows I'm not a rug pull. So I put my picture out there. I started posting. And then after that, I was like, you know what? There's so many, because I myself had so many questions. I'm like, there's so many meme coins, so many questions. I'm like, people are not going to go through every single one of these projects websites and dive deep. So I was like, you know what? I consume a lot of podcasts, so I would enjoy if someone did this for me. So I was like, why
Yeah.
don't you do this? I'm like, you know what? I think there's a little corner for me here, so I'm gonna do it. And I'm not expecting to be famous, or I'm not even making any money from this. I put it on Twitter. I'm really doing it for the community, get some exposure to other projects, and get myself some
Right.
exposure in the process.
Yeah, for sure. Well, everything you're doing, man, is, I mean, it's pivotal. Like I said, I mean, every meme coin is pivotal to the foundation of a blockchain. And I mean, just stuff like what you're doing, Trident podcast, shout out to you guys, XRPL radio, shout out to what, Mike and I are trying to build. Like, everything that we're building is going to go miles, because I say this all the time on every spaces. We see here now there's 20, 30, 40 people. Wait till volume floods over. There's going to be 80, 90, 100 people on these spaces average a night. And so that's when things start get crazy, and so that's when we need to start really buckling down. But right now we build the foundation. So appreciate everything you do, man. I'm glad you had me on here.
Something that you just mentioned that here is I jump into Solana spaces all the time just to peek into what's going on. And there'll be 900 people tuning in, and it's a
I've seen
snooze
that.
fest. It's a snooze fest. There's not giving any value. They're talking about that. It's a stupid thing, and they have money. All the speakers are talking about, oh, I lost 60K today on some stupid coin that they invested, or oh yeah,
Yes.
I'm moving around a couple $1 million. I wasted 20 G's on Ethereum fees.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my god, what is going on here? Like, you guys are missing out. And 900 people are tuning into this. 900 people are giving their time to listening to this. And on the other hand, we have so much alpha being dropped on these tiny XRP spaces. So in my mind, I was like, listen, we're just early. They're gonna come, and it's gonna be so much value. We're gonna blow their socks off.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I'll even say one more thing before we head out is it feels wrong because of how early we are,
Yeah.
but I know it's right because that's what crypto is. We are just very early. And it feels so weird to be that early because I've never been that early to everything, but I know that I'm early and I truly believe in what LAP is building, what XRPL is building, and what we're building here on the whole foundation of XRP, that I'm not worried about it.
Sit back and say, laugh now, but one day XRP will power the world.
Power of the world. Perfect, man. I love it. I love it. Well, Jamie, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. The pleasure was all mine. Thank you for being on.
Yeah, you as well. Talk to you later.
Later.